And so the reason I go on TeamBlind anyway, I hope this is the same for you, is I go on there for the raw, unhinged discussions. And so some of this is company related. So maybe it's layoff news, maybe it's just talking shit about Janice, right? But for me anyway, the biggest entertainment that I get as somebody who lives in the Bay Area, I get to see what people are like in my sphere at a raw level that I've never seen before. And so if you want to hear Rakesh talking about how ugly Bay Area women are, talk about his troubles with dating, how the white woman won't contact him, you want to hear these things, right? This oversharing, this is what TeamBlind is all about. It's very anonymous for the most part. One thing that's great about TeamBlind is you can't check a user's entire post history. And so if I were to be some crazy person, you won't know about it because you can't just click on my profile and see every post I've made. If you knew my exact threads, you could, but it's very hard to find a paper trail on TeamBlind versus something like Reddit where it's like, you know, your entire history is there. And I also go on TeamBlind to feel terrible about myself in a way that's productive. And so by that, I mean, you go on there, you see these people talking about their massive TOCs, as they call them, not table of contents. Actually, I said that wrong. It's TC, total compensation. Right? So how much money they're making. You see all these people. I see so many posts. People are like, dude, I got $10 million, $100 million. Should I retire yet? Like, dude, I would have retired at $1 million. Okay, well, maybe not. In this day and age, probably not. And so TeamBlind, in a nutshell, is great. I love it. I go on it pretty much every day, at least once a day. And so who owns TeamBlind? This is something I went down a rabbit hole to find. And really, there is no hole. It's more of a rabbit, just a little pocket. Okay? And so the guy that owns TeamBlind, he made it back in 2013. I guess it was made in South Korea. You know very little about this guy. There's very little bit of information on there. He doesn't post a lot. You know, there's no Zuckerbergification of his personality. That was a very lot of syllables there. Basically what I'm saying is this guy doesn't want to be in the spotlight. He made this website and that's it. He runs it and he's been running it since then. And it's great. But that's not what this video is about, right? This video is about the downfall of TeamBlind. Now, I don't think it's really fallen down. Actually, in fact, as points I'll point out later, I don't think it is ever going to fall down. But what I really mean is that it's lost its shine, okay? So if you go on TeamBlind today, let me tell you, the user experience on there is absolute dog. Absolute dog. You got ads thrown at you from every angle. It's gotten to a point too where you don't even intend to click on it. It just so happens to get in your click range without you even realizing it, and all of a sudden you got an ad. And yeah, you can use ad block, but you know, as somebody who doesn't always browse TeamBlind from a desktop, which I don't. If I'm browsing TeamBlind, it's because I'm at work and I'm bored. And maybe there's ad block on there, but at least personally, I haven't investigated adding ad block. And so I'm hitting an ad pretty much every time I swipe. And so that's, I would say, the biggest issue of TeamBlind. You know, granted, I know companies have to make money. I don't know how many employees TeamBlind has, but ultimately they got to keep the site up and running, and you know that has its costs. I don't think they have subscription services. Maybe they do. I haven't looked this deep into the rabbit hole, but that's just, you know, I would put that at problem one, right? If we're listing out the priorities of problems, to me, that's number one. I really think they could, at the very least, stop trying to trick me into an ad click. You know, you can show me the ad all you want, but just make it clearly separate from my click, please. The next issue is fake bots. And I don't know if these are fake in the sense that they're fake people. I think at one point they were real accounts. Excuse me. One point they were real accounts, but at some point they got hijacked, okay? So many posts I see, and they typically are advertising the same thing. They're always advertising AI cheating tools. So, you know, those tools you use during interviews. They're advertising these tools that you can use, and it's always the same. It's always like, hey guys, I'm trying to prepare for this interview for Google, Meta, whatever. And then in the comments you see, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I just used Ultra Code. And then a response to that will be like, oh, Ultra Code, that always gets detected. I used Xcode or whatever, right? There's always like a string of conversation that makes you think it's not a bot, but anyone with a brain can tell it's a bot. Like the end result is clearly they're advertising their product. And TeamBlind is a very unmoderated website, so it's like nobody's gonna catch them on that. Sometimes you'll get some like unsung heroes that respond and say, yeah, this is a bot, everyone avoid it. But for the most part, I don't see that. And so you see a lot of these posts. I would say at least 10% of the posts I see, okay, maybe not that high, I'll go 5%, are what seem like advertisements to a product. And to me, that's annoying. That's kind of the downside of being unmoderated, right? You have to pick and choose. It's either you moderate and you end up like Reddit, which is just an absolute cesspool of greasy, annoying people. And so you have to pick one. You have to pick your battles, right? So that's number 2. That would say number 2 is the issue priority list. Number 3, which I'll end it here because I think these are really the only 3 that bother me about TeamBlind. And that is, number 3 is the design. Now, the design of TeamBlind is perfectly good. You know, it really doesn't reinvent the wheel. I would say it's basically Reddit, but with a little bit of sheen. And for the most part, it works. It works. You go through, and then you've got these icons for each section that really don't line up well. They look like stock images. And so there's no personality to it. It gives you the vibe of a website that was made in like a month, and then they just never touched CSS and HTML again. And so those are the main 3, I would say, downfall. I don't think TeamBlind is downfall. Okay, I'm going to get to why later. Right now, I want to talk about the implications of TeamBlind. And this is, I would say this is 3B. Okay, this is 3B, problem 3B. The reason it's a B is because really it's not the fault of the designer. I think there's no way around this part, which is that you have to link a company to post, which is by design. You know, that's part of the product. We are a place where people that are at companies can talk about the companies. And if we don't have proof that you're at the company, we can't really trust what you're saying. And so it makes sense. Problem with that, whether you like to feel it or not, IT absolutely knows that you signed up to TeamBlind. I guarantee you, IT has occasionally looked through the users to see like, oh, who got the verification email in their corporate, right? Because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you check that? Granted, I don't know what they gain from it, but it's a real thing. You know, if I'm a startup founder or something and I only have 100 employees, it's not too hard to deduce who's the one posting about the company on TeamBlind. Maybe something like Meta or Google would be kind of tricky, but I would argue even then it's possible. Because there's people, right? There's people that really stick to the same writing style. And so if you are familiar with how they write on like Slack or Teams, sometimes you really can pick that up on TeamBlind. And so there's that risk there. There's absolutely a risk there. And so, you know, signing up is a bit of an implication. And at least up till now, TeamBlind hasn't had any major like security breaches. I think there was one, I believe there was one, but it hasn't been to the point where it's like consistent. And I think people do feel pretty trusted in TeamBlind. I think when people sign up, they know there's a chance, of course, but for the most part, I think people can trust TeamBlind, but that's right now. All right, we don't know. Tomorrow, a terminal or a TeamBlind breach could happen, and then, you know, everything is leaked somehow. Maybe they even had mapping. I guess it would depend on the severity of the breach. If it's possible for them to leak corporate emails to user IDs, and then on top of that, also map the posts to the user IDs, you'd be in trouble. Because if I can go down the entire history of a certain corporate email, it's not good. It could be bad. So that is an implication that you accept to when using TeamBlind. And the reason I put the B there, because I don't think this is really a fault of TeamBlind. This is just the design. There's no getting around it. And I don't want that to change. I think it's important that you have that proof. So we're not going to consider that to be a design or a mess issue. Now, I've been alluding to this idea that it's not a downfall, and I want to get into why it's not a downfall. The real reason, and the only reason, is because there's zero competition. Okay? I don't know if there's any website out there that's trying to do what TeamBlind is doing. If they are, they're not doing it in a way that's known. And so you have no other option, right? If I want to go and I want to roast a company, if I want to hear about the things that are happening at other companies, really my only option here is TeamBlind. I don't have, a place that I can easily go to and it's just a bunch of people. Maybe they have like underground Slack channels or Discord, but to me that's not the same. I don't want connections with anyone. I just want to log in and see a bunch of shit being talked. And so there's no competition. And so when there's no competition, what incentive do they have to avoid pissing their users off with ads, having a good design that people actually enjoy? There's not as much incentive. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to use TeamBlind. I'm still going to go there when I want to hear Rakesh talk about his dating life and see these $10 million TCs with 1 year experience. I'm still going to go there when people are complaining about their interview process and, just all the shit that goes into software development lifestyle. Me, I love it, and I'm not going to stop using it, but it is a mess, and I hope to improve.